And then what did you make of Sophie Cunningham's flagrant foul on JC towards the end?
It was a flagrant foul.
What happens when a WNBA star takes a stand? What happens when the league's leadership instantly regrets it?
Do you think it's like defending Caitlin or defending the team, or how do you view just how it all?
I view it as a flagrant foul.
From the first whistle, the air crackled with tension as Sophie Cunningham leaped into the fray to defend Caitlin Clark. That single moment, her fiery ejection, did more than alter the course of one game. It shook the WNBA's very foundations. Suddenly, fans and pundits everywhere were asking, had someone finally crossed a line? And why had league bosses, led by Cathy Engelbert, responded with such sweeping suspensions that one of the Fever's fiercest warriors promptly took them to court? If you are enjoying this video, ensure to leave W like and subscribe to our channel.
I'll ask about the game too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys came for basketball.
As we dive into this saga, picture a battlefield where loyalties are tested, rivalries run deep, and every foul carries the weight of history. The story unfolds like a dramatic play, each act more explosive than the last. No sugarcoating here, let's break down the moment that changed everything.
Go, I'm a go-getter. Coming for the town, we gon' burn it down, 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 down. No, they don't know better. Never had a doubt, they gon'.
The early chapters of this feud trace back to college rivalries, where Caitlin Clark and JCS Sheldon first locked horns in fiercely contested Big Ten showdowns. Back then, it was Ohio State versus Iowa, two teams with a simmering dislike, two players whose clash set sparks flying. Years later, those sparks ignited anew on the professional stage. What once was a grudging respect had curdled into mutual disdain, and the court became their theater of conflict.
On Natasha Howard as she was trying to deny the pass, and there we have Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark that might be acting as assistant coaches tonight.
Yeah, their voices.
On May 30th, in a game charged with high stakes and raw emotion, JCS Sheldon delivered a brutal foul that left Sophie Cunningham winded and nursing a sprained wrist. No flagrant called, no real accountability. The referee shrugged and let play continue. Fever players retreated to the bench with bruises and simmering resentment, convinced the league cared more about spectacle than fairness.
I had to come after Inspector Gadget.
Then came June 17th, a date that will live in WNBA infamy. Early in that game, Sheldon appeared to rake Clark in the face, a borderline assault that went unpunished. Moments later, Marina Mayberry launched herself into a hip check so vicious it jolted Clark to the floor. 20 agonizing minutes of video review yielded 3 technical fouls and a single flagrant warning. No ejections, no justice. Social media descended into chaos as fans lambasted the league's double standard, demanding stronger protections for star players.
Caitlin Clark's rookie season isn't just about breaking records, it's also about surviving the heat.
By the fourth quarter, the Fever's frustrations had reached critical mass. Sophie Cunningham, no stranger to hard knocks, decided enough was enough. In a move that stunned viewers, she delivered a deliberate, bone-rattling foul on Sheldon. The arena exploded in a mixture of cheers and gasps as Cunningham was shown the red card, her ejection cementing her new status, enforcer, protector, symbol of unyielding loyalty.
In the Fever vs Sun game, she took more than a few hits, literally. Early in the second half, JC Sheldon's hand caught Clark straight in the eye.
Yet rather than retreat in disgrace, Sophie walked off with her head held high. In that moment, she transcended the role of teammate. She became a statement, a beacon for a team that had spent too long absorbing blows in silence. Her act of defiance rippled through the league, forcing Commissioner Cathy Engelbert into the glare of public scrutiny. Engelbert defended the referees, insisting that the WNBA's rules were applied evenly. Critics howled that she was brushing aside concerns for player safety, that she was more concerned with public relations than real reform. Under fire, she announced a review of officiating protocols, but that did little to quell the uproar. Players demanded stricter penalties, fans demanded transparency. The WNBA, once lauded for its progressive stance, now worried it had let down its most vulnerable stars. Amid the chaos, the Fever's identity shifted. What began as a team, forced to swallow hard fouls without recourse, morphed into a disciplined unit ready to retaliate. Cunningham's ejection was the spark. The ensuing resolve became the flame. Opponents now think twice before launching physical assaults, knowing the Fever will fight back.
no call. Then came Marina Marbury delivering a body shove mid-possession that sent Clark stumbling.
On the scoreboard, the change was palpable. Sophie's intensity galvanized her teammates, leading to decisive victories and a surge in morale. Caitlin Clark, once the sole lightning rod, found herself playing within a shield of solidarity. And as the Commissioner's Cup final looms large, the Fever aren't just competitors, they're crusaders for respect. But the league's leadership still clings to a cautious line. Cathy Engelbert insists reform is coming, yet the ink is dry on few, if any, new policies. That hesitation is why Sophie Cunningham is not just a basketball player now, she's a litigant, suing Engelbert and the WNBA for what she calls unjust suspension and the failure to protect. Her lawsuit elevates this drama from locker room grumbling to courtroom spectacle, guaranteeing that the headlines and the court of public opinion will stay fixated on this conflict. So here we stand, at the crossroads of sport, justice, and labor rights. A single foul ignited a firestorm that the league's top brass struggles to contain. The narrative has shifted from on-court chicanery to off-court legal wrangling. And through it all, Sophie Cunningham remains unbowed, an icon of the modern WNBA warrior who refuses to be sidelined.
It seems like a lot of them are kind of being told what to do. There are other people pulling the strings above them.
This is about what I will personally label the idiocy.
What does this mean for the future? Will the WNBA emerge tougher and more equitable? Its officiating refined and player safety enshrined? Or will it retreat, reinforcing the walls that silence those who dare to speak up? One thing is certain, Sophie Cunningham's bold stand has rewritten the rules of engagement. Whether through renewed policies or landmark court decisions, the balance of power is changing, and the rest of the league is scrambling to keep pace.
Of Team USA women's basketball, how dare you make this decision? It's stupid.
Stephen A. Smith humiliates Cathy Engelbert over referee bribery accusations.
The moment Sophie Cunningham filed her lawsuit, the WNBA's boardroom doors slammed shut behind a new kind of battle. No longer was this a skirmish fought with elbows and flagrant fouls. It became a high-stakes legal duel. Cunningham's attorneys framed her case around breach of duty and failure to ensure player safety, arguing that the league had sacrificed fairness on the altar of entertainment. Cathy Engelbert, named as a defendant alongside the WNBA itself, found her defense team scrambling to draft motions to dismiss. As press conferences multiplied, the courtroom saga captured headlines with the same fervor as a playoff series. From the plaintiff's vantage, Sophie's suit is more than personal vindication. It's a strategic gambit designed to force the league into structural change. Her team submitted a trove of evidence, game footage, referee reports, and medical records detailing injuries that went unpunished. They even enlisted former players to testify about pervasive inconsistencies in officiating. Those depositions painted a picture of a league that prized close physical contests, yet wavered when calls might tarnish its polished image. Few legal battles in sports history have hinged on such a pointed mix of on-court drama and off-court accountability.
In what has now become one of the most explosive controversies in WNBA history, sports commentator Stephen A. Smith took center stage.
Meanwhile, the WNBA's defense leaned on tradition and precedent. Engelbert's lawyers highlighted previous cases where sports organizations escaped liability for on-field incidents, insisting that athletes consent to a certain level of risk. They underscored the league's existing rulebook, arguing that referees received extensive training and that appeals processes existed for review. Yet this argument stumbled when the plaintiff's team pointed to a lack of uniform application. Instances where similar fouls led to suspensions in one case and mere technicals in another. That discrepancy, they contended, voided any claim of equitable enforcement. But on that same argument of precedent, the FBI search deodorant pureed, VHS found 34 agents wreaking havoc on dozens of skaters, athletes. Behind the scenes, negotiations buzzed. Confidential talks between Cunningham's camp and WNBA representatives sought out-of-court settlements. Rumors of a six-figure payout circulated, though neither side would confirm. Sophie's priority, sources close to her say, is not money, but a binding commitment to overhaul officiating standards. She wants new protocols, independent review panels, stricter flagrant categories, and mandatory referee assessments. If the league balks, the suit will proceed to trial, setting the stage for a landmark decision that could redefine sports governance.
delivering a searing critique of Commissioner Cathy Engelbert amid growing allegations of referee bias, manipulation, and even bribery.
No legal battle exists in isolation. Sponsors and broadcast partners watch the Cunningham lawsuit with equal parts dread and fascination. Brands that once proudly emblazoned WNBA in their ads now worried about association with controversy. At least 2 apparel sponsors quietly paused new campaign launches, citing concerns over brand safety. Networks debated whether to show live games unfiltered or to impose delays that would allow for censorship of overly physical play. Advertisers feared that the league's on-court volatility would translate into unpredictable viewer sentiment. Media outlets seized the storyline like a viral dunk. Sports podcasts devoted entire episodes to dissecting legal briefs. Pundits rehashed past incidents involving hard fouls and compared the WNBA's situation to high-profile NFL and NBA lawsuits over concussions and labor disputes. Mainstream news shows ran side-by-side clips of Cunningham's ejection and her testimony, underscoring the contrast between athletic passion and boardroom poise. Yet beneath the laughs lay a serious question about player welfare and corporate accountability.
Where, I guess, some trash talking entered in. But now it seems on some social media channels to have taken a darker turn, a more menacing turn, where race has been introduced into the conversation. Not personally, it would seem.
Amid this frenzy, social media became a pressure cooker. Hashtags like Respect the Ref and Protect Our Players trended in alternating cycles. Fans shared choreographed memes that juxtaposed Cunningham's steely defense of Clark with satirical images of Cathy Engelbert refereeing in full armor. Threads on Reddit exploded with fan theories. Would Cunningham trade jerseys for judge robes? Could the suit trigger a players' union push for collective bargaining on safety standards? The digital arena mirrored the court's physicality. Every reaction a fast break toward the next hot take. The WNBA's turbulence didn't stay confined to American airwaves. Overseas, leagues in Europe and Asia monitored the lawsuit as a potential precedent. In Australia's Women's National Basketball League, officials quietly reviewed their own officiating guidelines, fearing a similar lawsuit down under. FIBA executives held emergency video conferences, comparing rulebooks and referee training programs across continents. The concern was palpable. If one league gets sued and loses, every basketball organization becomes vulnerable to copycat claims.
But their fan bases are involved in saying some very uncharitable things about the other.
Well, the one thing that's great about the league.
In Nigeria, home to rising WNBA star Ezine Kalu, corporate sponsors issued statements praising Cunningham's courage. They urged the WNBA to elevate player protection to world-class status. Meanwhile, fan groups in Canada organized watch parties for the trial updates, intertwining their national pride with support for global women's sports empowerment. Even in Kazakhstan, where women's basketball remains semi-professional, commentators speculated on whether their league could withstand similar scrutiny. The lawsuit's ripple effect revealed how sports governance in the 21st century is truly a global enterprise. Legal scholars dissected the Cunningham suit in journals and blogs, predicting its potential to reshape sports law. Many referenced the landmark Hoffman v. National Football League case, where concussion settlements forced the NFL into a multi-billion-dollar reform. Some argued that Sophie Cunningham's case could usher in an era where leagues must legally guarantee a base level of safety, akin to OSHA regulations for factories. That notion sparked heated debate. Would basketball arenas need OSHA compliance officers? Could referees become certified safety inspectors? The hypothetical scenarios piled up like free throws in an empty gym.
Think if this was LeBron in the NBA. Think if this was Steph Curry in the NBA. Do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron?
Critics warned of unintended consequences. They questioned whether an overly stringent rulebook could stifle the game's excitement. Imagine constant video reviews for every minor collision, or referees so fearful of lawsuits that they call dead ball on any contact. Would the WNBA morph into a sterile exhibition devoid of physicality? Proponents countered that well-defined standards and swift penalties could actually enhance the game, reducing dangerous plays and preserving athletic integrity. The balance between safety and spectacle hung in the balance. Under mounting pressure, the WNBA announced a task force to propose comprehensive officiating reforms. Surveying players, coaches, and referees, the group aimed to craft new guidelines that addressed Cunningham's concerns. Suggestions included delineating protective zone rules around star players, instituting a 3-strike policy for repeated flagrant offenses, and deploying an independent appeals board separate from league management. They even floated the idea of biometric sensors in jerseys to quantify impact force, turning subjective foul calls into data-driven decisions.
The way that Caitlyn was chucked to the ground, do you think if another player came up, blindsided LeBron, chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah?
Big data analysts offered to crunch years of game footage, isolating patterns where hard fouls went unchecked. Their preliminary reports found that certain teams accumulated twice as many unpenalized hard hits per game than the league average. That statistical insight provided ammunition for Cunningham's suit and for the task force's recommendations. If the WNBA embraced these proposals, it could pioneer a data-centric officiating model, setting a template for other leagues to follow. In parks and recreation centers across America, young girls watched the Cunningham saga with wide-eyed fascination. For them, Sophie wasn't just a pro athlete, she became a role model for standing up against injustice.
That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul. You could say it's a play on the ball, but
As the WNBA marches toward its next season, the outcome of Sophie's lawsuit still hangs in the balance. If the case goes to trial, the league could face a public reckoning that dwarfs any playoff upset. If it settles, the terms will likely include binding officiating reforms that shape the game for years to come.
Yeah, I think no question, this will get upgraded.
Yeah, no question.
2 arms above the shoulders. And again, intent is not part of this rule. Cunningham.
It's the security.
Sophie Cunningham responded quietly but powerfully.
So here it is, a tale of loyalty, grit, and the fight for fairness. The next chapter remains unwritten, but its ink is already bleeding across scoreboards, courtrooms, and clubhouse hallways. Sophie Cunningham's lawsuit isn't just another news item, it's a turning point. When the final buzzer sounds on this dispute, the WNBA may emerge as a more transparent, safer, and more equitable league, or as a cautionary tale of what happens when sports ignore the voices of those who play the hardest.
After the WNBA penalized her for defending her teammate Caitlin Clark. During a game filled with missed calls and growing tension, Sophie stepped in to protect her teammate, and the league issued a punishment in response. Fans launched a petition to suspend her, calling her actions excessive. But instead of addressing the criticism directly, Sophie simply retweeted a post showing her jersey had sold out, surpassing even the league's most popular players. That single move sent a clear message. She stood by her actions, and the fans stood with her.
Enjoyed this extended breakdown? Hit that like button, subscribe for more in-depth WNBA drama, and leave a comment with your predictions. Courtroom victory or settlement ahead of tip-off. Your voice is part of the story, so let us know below.